Hey everyone, it's been a while. Today we're not going to talk politics, we're going to talk society. And how society has collapsed in the United States. We have a fuck ton. A fuck ton is larger than a shit ton, mind you. A fuck ton of man babies and woman babies, if you even want to call them that. They can't be considered adults because they don't act like adults, they act like fucking kindergartners. It's a pandemic. An actual pandemic, unlike that flu that went around a couple of years ago where they locked everybody down. But we have a serious problem with adults who act like children. My belief on this is that these adult children should just be hit. Because they weren't hit as children. They weren't corrected as children. They weren't made to be respectable, to be compliant when they are being given lawful orders. They're entitled. In a world where everything is collapsing, these adult babies are just making everything worse. Now, I know for a fact I wouldn't hack it as a police officer. Why is this? Well, because the instant I ran into one of these adult children, I would do what their parents refused to do when they were kids. I would clock them. I would hit them. Which is why I can't be a police officer, because after 5 minutes of dealing with somebody acting like a fucking 5-year-old when they are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, I just hit them till they fucking shut up. Why would I do this? Well, they need to learn somehow. And they weren't taught these lessons as children, so they need some serious reinforcement as adults. Call it rehabilitation. We've allowed our society to fall to such a point that we're allowing some of the stupidest shit. We are endangering our communities, our peace officers. We are endangering our entire society by allowing adult children to call themselves adults and be members of our society. That's a problem. That's a serious problem that causes the collapse of civilizations. A 19-year-old adult woman assaulted an old lady. And then when the cops came to confront her about assaulting an old woman, which they had already watched the CCTV footage, she got triggered. She clenched her fist at being told that she was under suspicion of assault. She refused to follow the commands of a male. Only the female officer could assist her. And then, when she finds out that she's going to be put in handcuffs, oh my fucking God. The only one who could calm me down is my boyfriend. You don't know who he is. He's a celebrity. Bitch. Ain't no way some celebrity's dating you. Shit. the way you look, it appears gravity doesn't even want to deal with you. Because if gravity was dealing with you, you wouldn't be as mobile as you appear to be. But the way this woman is acting, she is not a functioning member of society. She should not be allowed in polite society. She should not be allowed anywhere. Used to be, communities held people like this in check. But we don't have community anymore in the United States now, do we? No, we don't. We have a titled bunch of man and woman children who hold the rest of us hostage to their psychotic whims. That's not a functioning society. These same adult children involve themselves in the politics of the nation because, obviously they know what's best. Although what's best for them is getting hit. Now I know people say violence doesn't solve anything. Nonsense. You got some asshole who's threatening people, and you knock them the fuck out. That solves the problem. That asshole is no longer threatening anyone. They're knocked out fucking cold. You can restrain them when they're knocked out. You can mitigate the threat they pose to the community by knocking them the fuck out. Violence solves a lot of things. The reason we don't see a lot more violence compared to what the left does, compared to the violence visited upon peaceful citizens by deranged individuals, is because the peaceful citizens have a higher tolerance. The problem there is that eventually the peaceful citizens will lose that tolerance, and the violence that they will visit upon the aggressors will be tenfold, because you've taken them past their breaking point. A point that these adult children don't know because they were never taught about breaking points. As a kid, our dad, it's pretty bad. Our dad used to say, "You're pushing my buttons." And being the smartasses that we were, we'd sit there and go, beep, boop, boop, boop. Oh, we'd get the belt. Because not only were we misbehaving, but then we mocked our father when he tried to correct us. We got hit. We still joke about it now because it is kind of funny, but we never did it again. Because we learned that if you do that, there's corrective measures. Now, there aren't corrective measures even in society today. In most large cities, even when you commit crimes, heinous crimes, you aren't punished. You get to walk out the same day, go commit the crime several more times. Each time, being released back into society, although you've already demonstrated you are a clear and present threat to your community. That needs to stop. We need to bring back the stocks. Well, that's cruel and unusual. No, it's not cruel. It's also not that unusual. It wasn't unusual until you all got pussified and said, "Oh my God, we can't do that. Look at the shame that person feels," when that was the entire point. That person would feel shame, and they wouldn't want to do it again. our society is collapsing. A lot of it has to do with adults who didn't properly discipline their children. Those children are now adults who also have children because they were not very intelligent. And, they didn't care. So, unprotected sex, which I'm guilty of, but at the same time, I know what happens with unprotected sex. But these kids had kids, and those kids of the kids that weren't properly raised are the absolute worst right now. I know this because I'm a gamer. I run into children like this in video games all the time. Kids who say some of the most heinous shit. Kids who act like their shit don't stink, although, my God, they must have fallen into a cesspit. Those kids populate the world right now. Those kids will eventually become adults, and they'll make the same mistakes their parents made. Have another generation of shitheels. And those shitheels will then become adults. We've just created a revolving door of a collapsing society because one group of parents refused to discipline their children. And now we have man babies and woman babies. One smack to the back of the head could have stopped all of this, but no one did it, because, oh my God, don't hit your children. No. Your kid did something fucking wrong, you discipline your kid. Take away the phone. Well, if you raised your kid on nothing but the phone, taking away the phone is going to cause their entire world to collapse. Yeah. Good times. Good times. Why is the West falling apart? Because a bunch of people were concerned about the optics of hitting their kids. Because a bunch of adults refused to be the adult in this situation and discipline misbehaving children. Because the people meant to correct the behaviors didn't. And the people meant to educate the children instead fomented those behaviors. Yeah. We're fucked. We are so fucked. Huzzah! 2024 is going to be so much fucking fun.